Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Frank here. I've got an interesting project. I'm going to show you what I've got and try to explain to you what I need to do. So, I don't know if you can tell what this is from looking at it, but it is a Starlink Mini. Now I have Starlink at my other house. I have fiber here, but I got an email from Starlink saying they were offering these to people who had accounts for $30 a month. Let you use one of these. So I bought this for my boat. And I want to mount it on the radar arch of the boat where the other antennas are. And I want to mount it horizontally. Now, they give you a little stand which pivots and, you know, gets you to mount it at like an 18-degree angle. They also give you a bracket which goes on a 2-inch diameter post and also mounts it at roughly an 18-degree angle. I measured that with a protractor. I think it's pretty close. But the problem with that is mounting it on the boat, you don't know which direction you're pointing, and it needs to point, if it's at an angle, it needs to point northeast from where I am. And this bracket accepts it, goes on a 2-inch post and holds it at that angle. Now, I've done some testing and determined that the antenna works fine if it's horizontal. Now you get a little message saying, you know, you're off angle, but it still works, 100 megabits. So I want to mount it horizontally, so no matter which way the boat is facing, it will receive the signal. Now, my understanding about Starlink, I'm not an expert, is that it's not intended for use at sea. They have a separate service, significantly more expensive, for an account for boats at sea. Now I'm, not at sea. I'm inland, rivers and tributaries. I don't know whether, if it's the GPS signaling, because the dish knows where it is by GPS. So I don't know whether in the middle of a river it would say can't use it. I've heard that people that tried to use a regular Starlink at sea got messages saying, can't do that. I don't really intend to use it at sea or even out on the water. Its purpose is at a marina, which is adjacent to land. So I think it will work fine there. But I want to mount it horizontally. So I cut an 18-degree taper on this post, thinking, maybe, obviously it's not going to fit because it's a different size. So if I, cut that down, it might slide on there, and I might try that. But I'm thinking I need to do something different. Perhaps cut another piece and mount it at an angle, drill and tap it, whatever, to get it attached here, or perhaps even weld it to be able to attach this horizontally. Now, this is a piece of solid aluminum. I don't need anything that big or that heavy. The standard way to mount antennas on a boat is with a base like this, which bolts to the radar arch, and then a short mast, something like this, might screw into it, or a larger antenna might screw into it. And this is a 1" 14 thread. I don't need this. I want to keep the antenna as low as possible so that if the boat's bouncing around, it doesn't put a large moment arm twisting the mount. I mean, these mounts are pretty rugged. That's stainless steel, and it bolts to a aluminum structure. But I would like to mount the antenna down low like that, approximately that distance, horizontally. So I need to adapt this bracket to mount on at that height horizontally. Thought process. Cut a piece of this about 4 inches tall, or the height of this. Bore it out, thread the top of it with the bored hole clearance for this. Drop it down over this and thread it on, and then have at that approximate height point that it can clamp to. All right, so I cut this at 9 degrees. So when I take it off and turn it 180 degrees, the angle is 18, pretty close. So that when this is vertical, put this tilted mount on there, and the top surface then is horizontal. And I think that, that's pretty much the case. So I think that will work okay. Need to attach these two pieces together. Need to bore this and thread the top of it to fit down over a mount like this. This is identical to what's on the boat, so it should thread up inside there. So let's go to the lathe. Let me part this off. We'll go to the lathe, turn this down. Let me turn this down a little bit just to clean it up. Thinking about trying my hand at some aluminum welding. I have never done that before. I do have a TIG welder. I do have everything I need, I think, to weld aluminum. I would probably bevel the edges of these and run a bead around. I may try doing that. Worst I can do is mess it up, and I have enough to make another one if I need to. So I need to cut a piece, say 4.5 inches. All right, so I cut that there. That'll leave me enough. If I need to do another one, I can try. I'll have a piece left over, so I cut this. Let me do a 90-degree cut here. We'll take this over to the lathe, clean it up, chuck this. Probably should have cleaned up the whole thing before I cut it off, but didn't think about that. So we'll take care of that. So partway through cutting this off, I started using some aluminum cutting fluid, Tap Magic. Maybe you can't see it from here, but this section was cut with the cutting fluid. This half was cut with just the blade. This is much rougher than this. This is much smoother. All right, so let's see how these carbide inserts deal with aluminum. First attempt at using them on aluminum. Let me see what my speed is. I'm at H4, which is 700 RPM. Oh, didn't quite clear up that face. Let's try this again. That's a beautiful, beautiful finish there. Pretty good. Using the DRO set to the same depth of cut, you can't feel any transition there. So this is a 1" 14 thread. So we'll need to bore out the mount 2.5 inches. We could go a little bit further. We could go 3 inches, and then 1 inch of thread at the top. That's basically what we have. It's 3 inches, so we need to bore out to 1.02, 20 thousandths over 1 inch here, and then thread the last inch. All right, the drill size for the 1" 14 threads is 15/16. So that's what this is, 15/16. And we'll drill through, and then we'll come back and drill 1 inch, 3 inches in. And that'll leave the top inch to be threaded. All right, I marked this with a 3 inch depth of cut. This is a 1-inch drill bit, so this will give us the clearance. We'll see if it's enough to give us clearance over the mounting stub. All right, not quite. All right, I already touched off. We're going to come 10 thousandths my way. All right, that's too tight. All right, so it's just enough to avoid any corrosion buildup, because this is stainless and this is aluminum, so we'll put some anti-seize on this when we install it. All right, the rest of this way that this goes in will get threaded, so we need to thread the rest of it. I'm going to counterbore this beveled area. So my tap handle is too long to fit in here, but I think we can do it this way. Let's see. I Thought about single point, cutting the threads here. If this were steel, I would do that. But being as it's aluminum, and I happen to have the correct tap, I decided to just go ahead and use my tap. There we go. All right, that looks great. Let's see how we did here. All right, at the risk of covering most of my body and half of the furniture in my house, we'll try a little bit of anti-seize here, just I think that's the problem. Yeah. That's going right in there now. Okay. It's got it all in there. Okay, well at least that works. All right, so that fits and screws on there fine. It's just a matter of attaching that. Well, I called the welding shop and they said they welded it. And the initial response at one local shop was get to it in a week or two, maybe. The other shop, they said, the receptionist I talked to yesterday said she'd talk to the welders and see if they could do it, and darned if they didn't do it in 24 hours. They did a beautiful job. So the issue with welding this, and I don't know that much about welding aluminum, but because it transfers heat so quickly, so readily, requires much higher amperage to weld, and because this was basically solid and this was hollow and had like a 1/2-inch wall thickness, they need to preheat the parts in order to avoid melting this. So that's what, you know, what they had to do, and I think they did a great job. It looks perfect. Let's see if I can figure. Let's see. It's gotta find the right position there to basically get this horizontal. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I'm pleased with that. I'm gonna turn this in, see if I can make a mark for where need to drill a little hole for yeah, so right there. All right, the last thing I need to do is go ahead and just drill a little clearance hole here for the set screw to go into, and it's just a 1/4 inch. The welding shop, I guess they clamped this in something. They grabbed marred the top of it a little bit, and I should have beveled this, chamfered this when I had it in the lathe. I did the bottom. Forgot to do the top. All right, we'll test fit this. Okay, I think that looks great. That should work. I'll take you down to the boat tomorrow and we'll install this, get it up and running. All right, I'm down here on the boat. Got the antenna, Starlink antenna mount, and the dish. This, of course, is the Starlink Mini. So this is the mount we made. I'm going to install it here on the boat. The installation is pretty easy. come up here on the, you see I have a mounting stub. Now this used to have a TV antenna on it, but nobody watches TV anymore. And where we boat, TV stations are intermittent anyway. It was an HD TV antenna. So this is the mounting point. I got to take this nut off, so let me do that. Otherwise the mount won't fit over it. This is the cable from the TV, for the TV antenna. I'm going to have to secure it. Alright, so this is our mount. Oh great. It won't go down over that post. Crap. Why would this be different from any other one? Alright, either have to replace this mount with the other mount I used or bore this out to fit. Did not expect that. I've got the new mast mounted here, at least the one I used to fit this. Okay, let's go ahead and put the antenna on there. Dish mounted here. So I added a set screw about 2/3 of the way down so that I can control the direction that it's facing. I want to face fore and aft. So I did that, and it's mounted now, plugged in. Got the sun shining here, but I think that looks fine. Kind of low profile. Now it's possible that there may be some interference with the radar. I don't know until I test it. And if I need to raise it up, I can do that. I have that short mast, or I could buy an additional mast and raise that, a few inches, whatever needs to happen. But I think that's going to work. Let's check and see if I got network yet. I hope you can see this. I mean, it's still, look at that, 120 megabits, 80, 70, 80 megabits. So even at misaligned, it's still working great. Got the dish installed. I think it looks good.
as you saw, 180 to 120 megabits download, so that's plenty fast even though it's misaligned. They want you to tilt it, 20 degrees or so. But I think it'll work fine the way it is, even if there's some signal loss. Is still, I think, will be adequate. Alright, so that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.